with all these chatbots, you might have heard of them, is occupational health and safety now being more accessible, and can we use these tools to get the information about, or the access to health and safety information better to a broader audience. And therefore we had a project, a cooperation of BAuA and AUVA in Austria. And occupational health and safety it's a multidimensional challenge. So we've got working on the construction side, there's lots of regulations. There might be an occupational physician trying to find out which stressors are common in a certain sector. We've got trainees, we've got inspection personnel who want to answer certain questions. So we've got loads and loads of questions. And what might be the answer for all of them? They can use the chatbot to answer their questions. But on the other hand, and I'm sorry these headlines are not readable, they're in German, so I just wrapped them up. We've got the question, or we've got in the media all these headlines like, don't trust the chatbot, they're hallucinating, they're giving false information, they're really not that reliable, you shouldn't use them, or maybe you can, or maybe you can save some time, you can save some resources. So it's like a mixed bag of chocolate, can you say it like that? I'm not quite sure. And so we were wondering which risks and opportunities are related to the use of these chatbots in occupational health and safety. And I have to say that we were looking at free of charge chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, where you use just your address to register and to create an account, and not the ones where you kind of pay extra to get better information, or where you have a connection to your own database or whatsoever. And this cooperation project was very close to our hearts and has been conducted within the past year. We had a couple of meetings, also used our digital tools to work on this together, and we really tried to get an assessment of the suitability of these chatbots. We were looking at this quite practice-oriented, and we're really trying to come to recommendations for a very broad audience. And what did we do? So as I said, it's very practice-oriented, so we did not work we didn't conduct experiments or but we looked at the literature, we created a model, we developed use cases and evaluated them, and then came to our recommendations. And earlier this year, we had the chance to ask a couple of experts from occupational health and safety, from practitioners, also scientists, what do you use large language models or chatbots based on large language models for at the moment? And we saw that many said, I use them for brainstorming, just to have access to a topic, to get some fresh ideas. Others also said that they try to adapt the information they have to a certain audience, like in other languages, or simplify certain texts. Other aspects that might be promising for future applications, like using them for training, or really diving deep into topics, have not been that common yet. And so the model or the use cases we were thinking of when we think of chatbots was, on the one hand, on the upper side, this brainstorming, like you want to get a new take on something, you want to explore a topic with a dialogue. Then we have this here is editing content and information. So you have a certain text, you have some piece of information you want to change, you want to adapt or want to edit in a certain way. And then there's the third area which we were considering, that would be factual questions and complex analysis. Although I have to say, these might require different types of chatbots than the ones we were looking at today. I think we had the presentation yesterday on, if you really want to go deep or want to have really have complex analysis, then you might need different If we're looking at this first category, we found that there's the advantage is you can get a wide range of perspectives. You can get some creative thinking. You're sometimes like stuck, don't find a cool title for your presentation, or sometimes you want to just have a small back and forth to create some ideas. And this is an application that's actually quite usable and works well, might be time saving. On the other hand, of course, this might create impractical ideas and you neglect your own creativity, because eventually you might have come up with a cool or with a good solution yourself, and you can tend to rely on this machine-generated suggestions. And of course, there's the danger that there's hidden misinformation or false information within the answers of these chatbots. And the example we created is that we kind of took on the role of a person working in occupational health and safety. Here we have like an occupational physician who wants to convince an employer to use skin protection or to offer skin protection for the employees. And then we formulated the question and kind of had the dialogue within the role. Yes, and this was the answer, part of it at least. And you see that health and well-being of employees is what the chatbot has like on the first line, and it also gave the chatbot also referred to productivity and efficiency issues, to legal requirements, to financial benefits. So it's kind of fitting to talking to an employer, because he might react to different arguments and reasoning than an employee. But if we have a closer look at the first part of the answer, you see that, yeah, well, you can prevent skin diseases and it's important, but also it feels like there's very important information missing, like referring to skin cancer, and also considering that it's not just that there are also other risks because of exposure, like when you're handling dust and other substances. So you have to be cautious when you're using the chatbots. And now I hand over.
Okay, welcome again. Yes, my name is Jelenko, and we did the project together. And I will start straight away in our next use case, the use case of editing content and information. And this use case includes multiple ways of editing text. So it also includes translations or language optimization, proofreading, summarizing texts. I think this is one of the advantages, that we can edit text in a variety of ways. And we can quick adapt it to the needs of specific target groups, for example. But on the other hand, we might lose our personal style and our individual skills. And there's also the risk of getting incorrect compilations and corrections. So we have to be careful using these chatbots for editing content. And there is an example, because you can also use the chatbot for creating quiz. And we had a question for the chatbot where we wanted it to create a quiz of 10 questions in the field of using PPE in restaurants, and especially safety shoes. And this was the output of the chatbot. You can take a look yourself. And I think we got relevant questions. but the answers aren't really serious because they're here to protect employees from sunburn. I don't think that anyone would think about that when thinking about safety issues, or that the features are a built-in clock. I think the risk is that people wouldn't take the whole issue serious if such answers are included in the quiz. So that's our critic on this way the chatbot answered our question, and also the context of restaurants isn't sufficiently addressed. So we see we shouldn't hand over issues to chatbot, but we should work together with the chatbot. So improving our prompts and go forward back with it to get that what we want. So we should never lose that our thinking and our creativity and our expertise when using chatbots. And so we come to our last use case, and I think that's the most critical one, using it for factual questions or complex analysis, because here we rely on accurate answers. And Swantje is right to say we shouldn't use this kind of chatbot for that questions, but I think in practice people use it. And so we try to give some information that might be not a good idea to use it for that. Because people use it because it saves time. I think that's the most important point, that it saves a lot of time. But we also have a lot of risks. That the risk that we rely on unreliable resources, the risk that misinformation is possibly confirmed, the risk that facts are taken out of context or mixed up in an inappropriate way, and also the risk that the information we get isn't up to date. So we should be careful, and we have here also a very simple example. We asked the chatbot what the minimum tread depth for tires in Austria is, and we immediately got an answer, and the chatbot didn't ask which tires we mean and which vehicles we mean. She gave us the tread depth for passenger cars, and 1.6 millimeter is right, but it's just right for the summer, because in Austria we have also cold winter and snowy winter. So we know that we have another regulation for winter tires, and we ask the chatbot. And now we got a completely wrong answer, because it said that 1.6 millimeter is also right for the winter, but we know there is another regulation. So we ask, are you sure? And now it corrects itself and has the right answer of 4 millimeters. But because it was so difficult to get the right answer, we asked him in which law that states, and now the chatbot hallucinates the Winterreifenpflichtverordnung. It's a regulation we don't have in Austria. And I think that's a problem, especially for Austria, because we had some conversation for the German regulations and some for the Austrian regulations, And because we are such a small country, and there's not so much information behind for Austria, we very often get wrong information. So I think especially small countries have to be aware what they get if they ask regulations. So at the end of our guide, we have it now, but we just have it in German, and we have also a PDF of it, but you can download it on our website. And at the end, we have some final recommendations for practice. And I have to say, I have to come back to that what Swantje said. These are very simple recommendations for people who have no experience or no expertise in using chatbots, but who work in the field of health and safety. And the first recommendation is that they have to look for company guidelines, and if there are company guidelines, they should follow them. Then that they have to take into account data protection and data security standards. That they should not insert personal data or internal information of companies. Then they should assess before they use it potential opportunities and risks, and they should not use it for factual questions, especially when they have no knowledge of the subject area. Yes, and they should reflect their prior knowledge of the subject area. Yes, that's similar to the one before, and they should always fact check the answer. And our final recommendation is that they should take enough time to create high quality prompts. So they should describe the situation. They should describe the role of the chatbot. And they should also check if they maybe unintentionally steer the answer in a certain direction or limit the answer because of the way they ask. So I think that's all. That's an oversight of our small project. So we are happy to answer your questions.